We start this hour in the Middle East, where Israeli airstrikes have hit a central Gaza City area of Deir al-Balah after the United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres urged an immediate ceasefire, a warning that Israel's push into Gaza City could lead to mass displacement and civilian casualties. This comes after Israel's military said it has begun the first steps of a major operation to capture Gaza City. According to reports, troops are holding the outskirts and tens of thousands of reservists have been called up, with full deployment expected in September. The war, now in its second year, has killed more than 62,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza health officials, alongside the 1,200 Israelis killed in Hamas's October 2023 attack that ignited the conflict. We're now joined by Peter Baum, who's the foreign editor of the weekly Blitz. He joins us live from London. Peter, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us on this issue. Peter, the international condemnation is vast for this new military offensive, as images of starving children and of the decimation of the Gaza Strip fill up the headlines around the world and social media. Your thoughts of how the international community is responding to Israel's new offensive, including from inside Israel, many of which have signaled alarm over Netanyahu's actions in the Gaza Strip?
Indeed. The international response, Thomas, is as expected and has been since Israel responded in the week after the October the 7th massacre. The Netanyahu government would have understood that and accounted for it and taken it into its analysis when deciding to go for the final push into Gaza. The only thing that would have stopped Netanyahu doing this, and I think we spoke about this previously, was if Donald Trump had not sanctioned the onslaught onto Gaza City, and if domestically there was sufficient pushback from the Israeli population against this current initiative. On the first issue, Trump has definitely given the green light. Of that, we have no doubt. And on the second, I was rather surprised that there had not been more vociferous outpouring and demonstrations within Israel domestically in the last 24 hours as there had been on the weekend just gone. So although the onslaught on Gaza City is actually taking place, it is not a full-scale onslaught. The reservists have been called up but are not yet in action. And Israel very recently, in the last, I would say, 12 hours, has had quite a bit of military success in eliminating a number of those senior Hamas terrorists that were very high profile with the Red Cross handover in the initial release of the first wave of hostages, and eliminating those who were responsible for the awful murder of the young Bibas family. So Hamas themselves tried to fight back, but unfortunately for them, they failed miserably. They tried to capture a number of Israeli troops yesterday, but were beaten off. They came up through a tunnel, and Israel managed to eliminate most of them. So Hamas militarily has still got capabilities. Whilst all this is going on, running parallel with the Gaza initiative, the new Gaza onslaught, peace talks are still going on. And I'm sure that unless those peace talks actually fail, we will then see the full amount of the reservists going into Gaza. But whilst they are still going on between Egypt, Qatar, the Americans and the Israelis, and bear in mind the Europeans are completely out of the picture on this, then I think Netanyahu will hold back. But there's only a limited space of time. I would suggest less than 48 hours.
Peter, of course, Hamas have accepted this deal, which would see a 60-day pause in fighting and release of half of the hostages that are still kept in the Gaza Strip. Critics of this onslaught say that it in fact endangers the hostages still kept in Gaza. How is it that Israel is still maintaining the view that hostages and the safe return of these hostages are Israel's priority going into these peace talks and going into this new offensive?
Now, this is the crux question, Thomas, of that there's no doubt. Netanyahu is playing a very dangerous balancing game here. In his opinion, and I guess in the opinion of his cabinet, he believes that Hamas are so weakened militarily, and we can see that they're not quite at that stage yet, but he believes that they are, and that the only thing in the Hamas armory, paradoxically, of keeping the hostages alive. Now, if Netanyahu is wrong in his assessment and the hostages are killed, and Hamas will certainly blame Israeli military for doing that, then Netanyahu is in no man's land. No one will support him domestically, and I'm sure Trump will even give up on him then. So it seems that Netanyahu at the moment is willing to bluff his way forward and by calling up the reservists, although, as I've said, they haven't yet been called into action yet. But if any of the hostages are killed as a result of Israel's military action, then I'm afraid it's game up for Netanyahu and his government. So a very delicate balancing act is playing here. We hope, the whole world hopes, that this peace initiative, this current one that's running parallel with the Gaza onslaught, will actually be successful. But we've been here so many times before, Thomas, yes. I'm not sure that it will be.
Yes, Peter Baum, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to get your insight, as always. We now move over